Welcome back everyone, Mike McConville here, Stratford, Ontario, Canada, one more time for String Tech Workstations. We have a very early 1974 Jean Larrivee guitar, signed by Jean Larrivee, made in Toronto. And it needs a bunch of work. It's never really had any work. We're just heating up that fingerboard extension in order to prepare for removing the neck and resetting the neck angle. So I've set the timer for 7 minutes. And we're heating up that ebony fingerboard extension. We'll slip that loose, and then we'll get on with steaming that dovetail and getting the neck off. Everyone, we're about to steam the neck off this 1974 Larrivee. That the dovetail has been pulling up, and we've got to do a neck reset on this. Steamer's all primed and ready to go. Let's get at it. I have my stopwatch set for 20 seconds aside. I've already located the holes at the 15th fret. I use these horsehide gloves because obviously this thing gets pretty hot. Keeping that steam where we want to keep it. And just set my timer here for 20 seconds. That's our 20 seconds. We're going to, other side, same thing, 20 seconds. Okay, so as soon as I see the steam blowing out this side, that tells me that it's actually going right around the whole dovetail. This is our 20 seconds aside. Just going to put that on standby for now. Just gradually tighten this up, and we'll check it as we go, a little bit at a time. Don't want to get too rambunctious. Kind of flex that a little bit more upward tension. This jig will make more sense as I pull it apart. Yeah, I'm going to use a little bit more steam. We'll go at it again for 20 seconds aside. You don't want water, you want steam. It'll spit a little bit in the beginning. Yeah, okay, we've got pure steam now. That's what we're after. Try that again. Oh yeah, okay. It's starting to loosen up, so let's get a little bit more pressure on the tip of that heel. And yeah, I think that's it. A little bit more, tip of the heel, and yeah. Sometimes with these jigs it makes more sense to sort of explain it as I disassemble. You can see all the components and why I've designed this jig the way I designed it. For safety, speed, and efficiency. Now, like I've mentioned in previous videos where I've been removing necks, the neck is actually held, strapped in place by the neck assembly, so what you want to hang on to when that dovetail lets go is the body. It's kind of fascinating to see this pre-production Larrivee. This was all put together by hand by Jean Larrivee many, many years ago, 1974. And this dovetail is nowhere near the dimensions of the current typical production dovetail, which is about twice that thickness. This is just a little over ½ an inch thick. Very well cut, beautiful fit. But have a look at this. So typically when you steam a dovetail off, you go through the 15th fret, but that wasn't working in this case. When I didn't kind of hit pay dirt right away, When I went through the thickness of the fingerboard, I realized, boy, I'm going to kind of tilt that out. So as you can see, it came out right here. Now on the other side, same thing. Tilted the steam needle back to get inside that dovetail. So once that steam was coming out this other hole, I knew we'd hit pay dirt and the steam was making its way around the full dovetail. This is a definite note of caution for anyone doing this type of work. It's one thing to steam the dovetail off of a production guitar like Gibson, Martin, or even the present day Larrivee. You get into a handmade guitar, you really don't know what you're getting into as far as a dovetail. So we did really well with this one. No structural damage whatsoever. The dovetail itself didn't crack or disintegrate, so we're going to let that dry out for a couple of days, and then we'll come back and fit it for the proper neck angle. The other thing is this bridge is lifting, and it's going to need to be heated up and removed as well, but we'll get to that later. Right now, let's go look at this Gurian guitar. Well, as you can see, this Gurian neck joint is a completely different animal than that Larrivee dovetail we were just looking at. Now, hopefully the camera picks this up, but if you look carefully, you can see that there is a fracture on the outside perimeter of that hole. If you've been to my homepage, you've seen the very extensive video that I did on this exact joint. Same vintage. This guitar's a few years earlier than the one I covered in that video. When I see this type of thing, I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, I think I'm going to do a little bit of re-engineering on this and change it up to make it a little more friendly for the next guy down the road long after I'm gone that needs to reset the neck. Going to make his job a lot easier. So I'm showing you guys this stacked truss rod that Gurian was using at that time. And if you don't know this, you're going to have a hard time. This adjustment nut with the Allen key drive needs to be removed in order for you to pull the neck off. You need to know that. If you're taking a Gurian neck off, there's enough of these guitars out there that somebody's going to run into this, and hopefully they see this video. It's going to save them a lot of grief. Next. There's another angle of that fracture. We're going to start the repair like we did on that other Gurian by filling those holes and gluing some nice press fit dowels into those holes to just strengthen this whole thing and prevent any more breakout like this. We've taken a much different approach on this guitar than we did on that last Gurian of Andrew's. Okay, well that's the Gurian and that is the Larrivee. We're going to set them both aside and pick up in the morning. This is the Gurian guitar that was shipped up from Albuquerque. And it'll make a lot more sense as I take it out of the jig. And I'll explain again what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. So I'll go ahead and pull it out of the jig. Well, I thought I'd give you one last look at this thing before I disassemble. I actually threaded right into the hardwood because we've got a 2-inch slab of hardwood for a top here. So a very close friend of mine had dropped these right angle brackets off to me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and as it turned out, I just ended up repurposing them to skim off that Gurian tenon. So there you go. I know a lot of the old-time techs are prone to using the vernacular, stuff that's just lying around and coming up with the goods. And that's what we ended up doing here. My friend got these two brackets at a place called Crazy Bins. I don't know if you have that in the US, but basically what it is a place where all of the Amazon reject stuff is cleared out. So in this case, this thing's worked out beautiful for this purpose. Will I ever use it again? God only knows. There you go. It's a pair of right angle snap shut brackets that I may use again. We'll see. Stay tuned. Well, as you have seen in the last 4 or 5 neck resets, those 3 Martins and the Larrivee and now this Gurian, I'm making this undercut. I have a feeler gauge actually taped to the face of the ebony so it doesn't get marked. And I am making this cut so that the fingerboard is allowed to flex that little bit when we go to glue it back onto the guitar. So what I've got here is a feeler gauge and some 80 grit sandpaper just to kind of clean up what's left over of the mahogany on the underside. I don't have to really clean it up completely. I'm just being fussy. So I'll probably put an edge on that feeler gauge and then just chisel off the... Oh, there we go. There it comes. That fingerboard will have just a little bit of flex now, and that'll allow us to get it good and tight. So before I glue this cross grain mahogany patch into place, I want to explain why I'm doing it. This is where all the trouble started. The ebony pin that pins down the bottom half of the heel, this is where the fracture was. And that pin fell out and then the neck pulled up. So I don't really want to alter the Gurian guitar as far as function. And the way around that is to glue on these 2 mahogany straps on either side. And then when we're done, we're also going to face this with mahogany just to reduce any chance of refracture after we re-drill the tapered holes and insert those pins. Here we go with strap number 2. And we will face this joint, this surface here, tomorrow.